one candidate in this race who's actually leading us to something, to our vision of what it means to be an American. That is resonating with voters across the country. I began in March at 0.0% in the polls. Look at the national polling averages now. I'm consistently polling at third nationally. And that's ahead of even the first debate, when many people in this country haven't yet gotten to know who I am.
We should debate. We should debate the most important issues the American people are going to face. We need strong, powerful, persuasive leadership so that we grow this conservative movement.
Well, you know, it's quite an easy question normally. Ronald Reagan didn't do it, and a lot of other people didn't do it. When you have a big lead, you don't do it. And so you're leading people by 50 and 60 points, and you say, why would you be doing a debate? It's actually not fair. Why would you let somebody that's at 0 or at 1 or 2 or 3, be popping you with questions?
Welcome back to Sunday Night in America. 1 month from right now, that's when the 2024 debate season begins. Fox News will host from the great state of Wisconsin. Martha McCallum and Brett Baer will ask the questions. We just don't know who yet will be answering the questions. You have to qualify, and then you have to show up. Former President Trump remains the prohibitive favorite, although no votes have been cast. There's movement among the candidates below. Vivek Ramaswamy is so much for being here. Look, I know it's early, but so far, President Trump has kept or perhaps extended his lead. So this is after 2 indictments, being found liable in a civil trial, and perhaps a 3rd indictment looming, and it hadn't hurt him at all. So what do you make of that?
Yeah, Trey, great to be with you. And to your point, it's not just that he's rising in the polls, he's also raising millions of dollars, outpacing nearly every one of his competitors on the Republican stage. It's anyone's guess now if he will join that stage just a month from now at this very time in Milwaukee. And certainly I think you're seeing folks like Chris Christie, others eager to take on that president, putting a lot of resources into making that debate stage just from a polling perspective, as well as a funds raised perspective. But I am certainly hopeful that the former president will be on that stage. I think he owes it to voters not to just be the inevitable candidate, but to come back swinging. And he's an actual, pretty effective debater, as we've talked about in the past, Trey.
All right. One thing that sometimes happens on debate stages is they'll ask for a unity pledge. I want to play a clip from Senator Lisa Murkowski and then ask you a question in that vein on the other side.
If it's a matchup between Biden and Trump, I know exactly where I'd go. I would go with Joe Manchin. I have no qualms, providing my endorsement to a Democrat who I think has been not only extraordinarily helpful to me and Alaskan issues, but in the Senate as well. I am one who doesn't like to use my vote for the lesser of evils. I want to be proactive in who I think could do the job.
All right, so she's kind of making reference to Joe Manchin and a possible third-party run. Kevin, I mean, I hear all the time that America's a center-right country. I mean, there are lots of ways to get slightly right of center. You can, actually be there, or you can have the two extremes pull as hard as they possibly can, which seems like what we're doing right now. I don't see a large group of moderate voters looking like Lisa Murkowski. I mean, I don't see a lot of folks like that, but you're an expert. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, Trey, I think you're actually right. I think you do have a majority of Americans that find themselves somewhere in the middle, center left, center right, but are mostly disengaged. And we see most of the engagement, the action, the activity on the extremes in mostly primaries, right, that mostly decide who represents us in Congress are those primary elections. And year after year, census after census, we see those competitive districts fall by the wayside as more and more Republicans flock to red states and their areas, rural areas, and Democrats similarly to the cities. that is an interesting news piece with Senator Murkowski. I think, she has made a name for herself as someone in the middle in the Senate, as a deal maker. She's worked extensively with the Biden administration, whether it be on energy permitting, whether it be on the infrastructure bill to actually achieve things. So I think, to her point that she wants to work with someone, she already is in Joe Biden, who has notched more bipartisan victories, I think, in the last 2.5 years than any president in recent memory. But certainly there's a lot of interest, I think, with Joe Manchin. He was in New Hampshire this past week with No Labels, talking about this potential of a third-party run. But we've never seen a third party be successful in this country. The last guy who actually got a single electoral vote wasn't even Ross Perot in 1992. It was George Wallace back 50 years ago. So, there is a lot of talk about this potential third-party bid. But I think No Labels is really misguided in offering this potential in a few months from now.
All right. I know that folks, the candidates, the public, they really want to see former President Trump on the debate stage in Wisconsin. They really, really, really do. In candor, what does he have to gain, though? I mean, I hate to play the devil's advocate, but everybody needs a lawyer. So what does he have to gain? He's already leading. So I'll let you make the case. If he's watching you, Kevin, why should he show up?
Well, if the former president is watching, I make the case that, as I said just earlier, he's a very effective debater. We remember the debate stage in 2016 where he really undercut Jeb Bush, took the wind out of his sails, really took on little Marco Rubio, cut him out. And I think you're going to have some of these candidates on that stage obviously gunning for him as the front runner. Chris Sununu, the current governor of New Hampshire, who decided not to run for president or for re-election, has begged some of his current folks on that stage to take on the former president as the only way to move up in the polls. But I think it's in the former president's best interest to be on that debate stage. He can take down Ron DeSantis pretty effectively on that stage. And plus, we know the former president loves when people are talking about him. They love when he's engaged. And I don't think he's going to want to miss, being on that stage.
Let's hope he takes your advice. I hope he does. Kevin Walling, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Trace.